Hi everyone, a wondrous day ahead. I am Arian Golchano, so we are the group 2. As for today's discussion, we are going to dive through about the chronicle entitled The Global Environment, or also known as the Chapter 3. So before we dive in, let me introduce to you first our learning objectives for today. So for the first one, we have to describe the growth of international business, and we also have to identify and discuss the global issues in international human resource management. Next up, we have to discuss the human resource management function in international business. Also on the list, we have to identify and discuss the domestic issues in international human resource management. And also, we also need to discuss or dive through a little bit of the issues involved in managing international transfers and assignments. And before we conclude, we have to summarize the issues in international labor relations. So before we formally begin the discussion, let me actually give an insight or a little bit of encapsulation and overview about this topic or about this chapter. So one of the fastest growing and most important concerns for human resource managers in many companies today is preparing other managers for international assignments. We also need to have a noteworthy presence in our minds that human resource management or our human capital is is actually the best or the most pivotal aspect of our business. In reality, however, this is only one part of international human resource management. So we have to note that in our minds that it's very imperative, it's pivotal. So we have to really engrave that when we foster, when we dive through and actually have this encapsulation when it comes to building a foundation to our business, most especially if we are targeting international business, since it's no joke for us to navigate it. So this chapter will explore international HRM in detail. We begin with general overview of the growth of international businesses, and then discuss global issues in international HRM. And then next in the line, we have to examine the XR function in international business, as long as we describe and identify, domestic issues in international HRM, and then discuss the management of international transfer and assignments. And then I think we also need to summarize the basic issues in international labor relations. So as for our first objective, describe the growth of international business. So, as we all know, international business is not a new phenomenon. Alam natin, it's not new. Even way before, from the ancient beginnings, yung international business, it's actually happening. It's actually occurring. But, we have to be reminded that from before, hindi ginagamitan na salapi or hindi money ang tina-transfer when we trade, when we exchange goods, when we exchange shelters and clothes and other specific things that we have to be exchanged with, hindi ginagamitan na salapi. Instead, we have the silks, the spices, the grains, the trade, ivory, and textiles. Ito yung mga top tier mediums na ginagamit, or the most popular goods forming the basis for early trade. So in fact, its origins can be traced back literally thousands of years to merchants plying their waves along ancient trade routes, linking sinasabi ko, Southern Europe, Northern Africa, the Middle East, and of course Asia, the biggest continent. So the forces that shape today's competitive international business environment began to emerge in the years following World War II. Ano bang meron sa World War II? Of course, that's not the center topic, or that's not the side of the coin that I'm gonna be, discuss or traverse to have discussion with. Pero for a little bit of a background or a trivia, yung World War II po is the deadliest war that happened in the history or in the books, kung meron man tayong mababasa. World War II, if I'm not mistaken, merong 30 countries na involved during that time. And then those 30 countries they as a result of that global conflict, yung Japan and most of Europe were devastated. According to the statistics, yung United States, it was the only major industrial power that emerged from World War II with its infrastructure relatively intact. Pag sinabi natin relatively intact, mainly it wasn't really devastated. Hindi siya gaanong naapektuhan during the World War II, and consider the fact that the World War II was the deadliest war or the deadliest form of like conflict that happened from the past. Hindi ganun ka naapektuhan or nagkaroon ng frustration or like ng mga kumbaga hindi ganun na nasira or nagkaroon ng economic difficulty yung United States that time. Instead, yung mga infrastructures nila, it was mainly relatively intact. So places not devastated by the war. Pero yung mga South and Central American Africa, yun yung mga major players in the global economy even before the war. So, and Canada had yet become a major global economic power. So businesses in war-torn countries had little choice but to rebuild from scratch. So since nga yung Japan, yung Germany, yung iba pang mga countries na involved that time, wala silang ibang choice. They had a little choice since sobrang apektado sila sa war. War-torn. Ibig sabihin ng war-torn, apektado sila massively from the war. Ibig sabihin, enormously, they were damaged. They were able to not really recovered from that, from that specific war, which is the World War II. They were in the unfortunate position of having to rethink every facet of their business, to rethink every single brand that they have to pursue that time. So including technology. Yung technology talaga that time, consider na it was ancient. So technology that time, hindi pa ganun ka-advanced. So they had a huge time to actually build up and traverse a new facet of their business, including yung productions, yung operations, yung finance, and also yung marketing. So ultimately, however, this position worked to their advantage. So during the 1950s, yung United States, as I've said earlier, it was by far the most dominant economic power in the world. Meaning to say, sila yung may pinakamalaking access, and they actually had the benefits during the World War II, since yung mga countries or mainly yung mga major economy players that time is apektado ng World War II or yung kumbaga damage sila sa World War II na ginanap during that time. So they had the United States took advantage of it. So because of that war, sila yung nagkakaroon ng advantage, since yung mga countries na to, yung mga communities, yung mga lugar na ito, bumibili sa kanila ng mga goods, bumibili sa kanila ng mga ng mga appliances, ng mga sistema or they access to their organization that provides benefits to them. So it's business controlled most major industries. At the same time, however, Japan, Germany, and other countries were rebuilding their own infrastructures and developing new industrial cloud. So during naman the 1960s, 10 years after that or 1 decade after that, this newly formed Japanese and German industrial cloud began to exert itself in the world marketplace. So meaning to say, after 10 years, of course, they had the time to rebuild themselves, they had the time to think of a new facet, think of a new branding. So they have the time to, exert effort from within, engraved from within. So that time, yung Japanese and German country or German industrial cloud, nagkaroon na sila ng parang konting edge. Kumbaga, they had edge, they had exerted an effort from that. So nakilala sila sa world marketplace. So by the late 1970s, that's another 10 years after, so that's one decade after, businesses from other countries emerged as major players in the world economy. And by the 1980s, many of them had established dominant positions in their industries. At the same time, many US firms had grown complacent. So during that time, yung 1980s daw, yung US firms na sinasabi nating dominant during that time, yung global environment na influence na meron sila, na impact na meron sila, had grown complacent. When we say complacent, parang bumababa, it's declining. Kasi nga, it's beyond their control na parang as the times goes by, as the years goes by, as the decades goes by, nagkakaroon ng outmodeling, outdating yung kanilang manufacturing, production, and other quality na they used to have an edge with. So during that time, it had grown complacent. Their products and services were not of high quality, and their manufacturing, as I've said earlier, and production methods were outdated and outmodeled. So eventually, U.S. firms decided that they had a little choice but to start over as well. So just like what these countries, these Japan, German, what traversed to, ganun din yung ginawa ng US. They had to rethink, they had to restart, to rebuild themselves, their foundation, their organization, practically rebuild themselves in the 1980s and early 1990s. So, as we all know, that time, nasa peak na yung Japan. Nasa peak na yung Asia in general actually. Like, kung alam natin sa Japan, ang pinaka-tradisyon na talagang sikat or talagang bentang-benta was the, what do we call this one? The noodles. Yung ramen, yung ramen. So that's beyond circulating even outside the Asia, and that the German also had their brandings on their clothings, and also yung mga Europe countries nagkaroon ng pasta, Italy when I say, and then every single things happened from that. And then yung US, which ang pinakamalakas sa kanila is yung advancement ng technology, they had to rebuild from that during the 1980s decade. And also pala is that time yung Japan, nakilala na yung Tokyo, sorry I'm not, Toyota, nakilala na yung Toyota, yung famous brand for our, for the automobiles, and then also yung Mitsubishi. So, by the mid-1990s, global competitiveness seemed to have become the norm rather than the exception. So, the United States, Japan, and Germany remained the three leading industrial powers in the world, even up till this day. So, kapag sinabing ano yung pinaka-industrial powerful dito sa mundong ito, we would always think that United States has the most influential, and that's very evident. It's very efficacious. We couldn't like just obstruct that fact. We couldn't just like deny or just annihilate that time. So yeah, United States, Japan, and Germany remained the three leading industrial powers in the world, and then that considered the influence, and then until this day nangyayari yung every single day nangyayaring international business. And that's because how powerful the human resource management that these businesses are operating into. And then like they have the power to draw, to create a landscape with, to form another vision with, and to nurture what needs to be nurtured in the organization or within the organization. So ngayon, kahit sa Philippines, it's very evident the influence of these three countries and also their products that concomitantly coming into our own domestic firms. So that's very evident. So I hope that you've learned from this, from these first objective, and then like right now, I am acknowledging my group mates also to report their own summary or point of view as we traverse to the next topic.
Okay, my name is Princess Lama Kaniban Ali, and to continue our discussion, I will be introducing international HRM strategy. So the overall strategy of the business has to be logical and well conceived. So we have to develop a systematic strategy for choosing among host country nationals, third country nationals, and parent country nationals for various positions in the organization. So before we continue in discussing the systematic strategy, we need to properly understand first what is the difference among those three. So, starting off with the PCN, that would be parent country nationals. These three, to note again, PCN, HCN, and TCN, employees po ito sila, This is the type to know like, anong klase ka bang employee? Are you a PCN? Are you an HCN? And are you a TCN? Okay, starting off with PCN. PCNs are employees who have the same nationality as the firm, pero nakalagay po sa another bansa. For example, a Filipino manager working at a UK-based subsidiary of a Jollibee. So, si Jollibee, Filipino company siya. So, napansin nyo, Filipino manager, Filipino company, same. Pero, nakalagay po ang ating firm sa UK na bansa. Gets po ba natin? And ang matatawag sa inyo, if you are an employee and that's the situation, you are a PCN. Next, we have HCN or Host Country Nationals. We need to remember this very clearly, okay? An example would be UK manager working for a UK-based subsidiary of Jollibee. No, Jollibee na ang ating gagawing example for this one so we can understand para hindi po tayo malito. So, UK manager working for a UK-based subsidiary of Jollibee. Anong napansin nyo na pareho? Yung nationality ni manager, which is UK, and kung saan nakalagay si Jollibee or kung saan nakalagay yung firm. Saan nakalagay? Sa UK. Pero, ang kanilang company is a Filipino company. Same pa rin. Okay, moving on. We have the TCN. Third national or third country national. Ito naman sila. Ito na yung different in 3 ways. So, an example would be a UK manager working at an Australian-based subsidiary of a Jollibee. So, wala po tayong napansin na pareho. Sorry. Nationality different from the firm and sa country kung saan nakalagay ang firm. Napansin natin, si US or si UK na manager, hindi siya same kung saan nakalagay si Jollibee kasi nasa Australia. Naka-base po sa Australia si Jollibee. And Jollibee is a Filipino company. So, naiintindihan po ba natin? Did we understood it? The examples itself of what are the difference between PCN, HCN, and TCNs? Okay, moving forward to the 3 models. So, the first model that we have from the word itself, ethnocentric staffing model. Ethnocentric staffing model. These are the firms that use and adopt primarily to use a PCNs na yung explain po natin kanina, to staff higher level foreign positions. So, what will be other reasons to use this? Or, why are people using this? Kasi nga, di ba, ethnocentric, naka-center po tayo. Sa, for example, si Filipino company na Jollibee, hinahire nila na manager is Filipino managers as well. So, nakafocus sila sa parang origin. Like, it's very important for them na, okay, sige, let's hire this. Number 2, the model. The polycentric staffing model. Polycentric staffing model. International businesses adopt this. Tapos, there's a heavier use of HCNs from top to bottom throughout the organization. Sabihin natin sa Jollibee organization or Jollibee company. Nag-hire sila ng HCNs. Ano nga ulit yung mga HCNs? They are same yung nationality ni worker doon sa kung saan nakalagay yung company na bansa. So, kailan natin gagamitin or kailan ba nagagamit si polycentric staffing model? For example, let's say we're gonna build the Jollibee sa Japan. So, technically, if we are thinking of ways on how to reach out to the Japanese culture and the Japanese people para mas ma-manage natin yung Jollibee natin, kukuha tayo ng mga workers or employees throughout the organization to manage that. We're not saying like all of it, but there's a heavier use. Yun yung ating keyword dito, ha? Heavier use. So, gagamitin nila yun para yung language barrier and at the same time, yung work nila, mas ma-perform nila effectively because of the certain situations. Kaya yun, mas makontrol nila ng mas maayos. Okay? We have already explained what is polycentric staffing model. Lastly, we have the geocentric staffing model. So first, we have the ethnocentric staffing model, polycentric staffing model, and geocentric staffing model. Itong pangatlo naman, it puts PCNs, HCNs, and TCNs in the same category. And then, afterwards, the firm then will attempt to hire who is the best person available for a position regardless where that individual comes from. So, yun lang po ang ating explanation for geocentric staffing model. To continue, we have understanding the cultural environment. So, first, we need to understand culture. No? Culture refers to the set of values that helps an organization's members understand what it stands for, how it does things, and what it considers important. So, maya-maya, we are going to go there thoroughly. And then now, we have disadvantages of cultural differences. So, we have differences in language, customs, and business and personal norms increase the potential for misunderstanding and miscommunication. And obviously, similar problems. So, in business, we really don't want that to happen. No? And any other type of category naman, I don't think we want misunderstandings to happen. So, HR managers must be very careful. Ayun. Number 1, be very careful to avoid overgeneralizing from their own experiences or perspectives. Kasi, nakaka-affect ito sa business practices in international situations, international transactions, and other opportunities may come by where kung saan yun, kailangan natin makipag-interact internationally. Ayan. Okay, moving on, we have here 2 major studies of national values and how they influence behavior at work. Meron tayo kay Hofstede, yung 5 dimensions of national culture. And then meron tayong Globe Project with 9 cultural values ni Robert House. Ngayon, both results naman of the projects are very successful at the same time. Grabe, ang galing niyang guidelines for what to expect kung magdi-deal tayo sa situations na ganito, no, from different countries. Pero, sabi dito, they should only be viewed as guidelines only. Depende pa rin talaga yun kung anong klaseng situation ang meron ka. Kasi sa dinami-dami ba naman ng situations, let's say, this and that, like, nagkaroon ka na-stump ka kasi yung manager na sinabi mo, nausap mo, it is from Saudi Arabia or Muslim countries like Sudan, sinabi na, I don't want an interest for this kasi this is haram for us. Kasi 'di ba, ano kasi sa Muslim countries kasi or sa religion mismo ng Islam, bawal kasi na kumbaga in terms of naghihirap na yung tao tapos nakaka-gain ka pa from their hirap. Kasi 'di ba, pag nag-uutang naman ng tao in general, dito sa atin, nilalagyan natin ng interest or parang it's very normal na mag 5, 6 ganyan. Okay, not the term that I would like to use, but kumbaga it is seen like as a no sa ibang countries. So what if you are a manager and here and there nakausap mo to tas ayaw nilang gumawa ng business with you? So yun lang naman. Sabi dito, they should only be viewed as guidelines only. So depende pa rin talaga yun. So ang number 1 rule talaga dito is to be careful. Now, here we have locating manufacturing facilities in countries with low labor costs can help business lower its overall cost and therefore increase profits. So we have companies like Shein, no? Nagkaroon sila ng issue where they were like, okay, you know what? We're gonna find a third world country. And at the same time, magbibuild tayo ng manufacturing facilities natin doon. Tapos after natin magbuild ng manufacturing facilities doon, we are gonna take advantage of the low labor costs. Kasi 'di ba, pag low yung labor costs natin, nagkakaroon tayo ng mas maraming profit kasi there's a difference with the capital and how the prices are being distributed. Kaya minsan hindi na natin alam na sumusobra na pala tayo and we are doing child or worker exploitations. Bakit ito na-discuss ngayon, itong topic na to? Because yun na nga yung sa differences with countries. Let's say, an example, the example that we're gonna use is US and Bangladesh. Sa US, understandable na ang mga bata, pinapaaral sila, di ba? And then when they turn 18, I think, pwede na silang maghiwalay from parents and they can find jobs. And even before they turn 18, pwede silang magkuha ng part-time jobs kasi 'di ba, malaki talaga yung part-time jobs doon, yung sweldo. Ngayon, in other countries, katulad sa Bangladesh, it is quite common for children daw to be a major source of income for their families. Kasi yun yung culture nila. So many children do not attend school at all and begin seeking jobs at very young age. And ngayon, parang dilemma ito pag ikaw ang isang business manager, tapos umo-operate ka. Like, anong line ba na masasabi na you are doing a worker exploitation dito sa third world country na to? Or gina-use mo ba yung culture nila as an advantage for your business to thrive harder? Diba? So, that's why magkakasya ng problem if hindi natin siya pag-iisipan ng mabuti. And if yung actions natin are a bit more, like, a little bit careless lang. Akala mo, very small lang pala yung problem na hinaharap mo. Pero, in fact, hindi na pala talaga siya maganda. And now, ito pa, we have two fundamental cultural challenges that the HR manager with international issues has to face. Yun yung number 1, understanding and appreciating differences that exist in different cultures. Siyempre, kapag understand mo ng mabuti yung culture nung bansa na to before ka nagsugod dyan and etc., ginawa mo na yung business mo, mahihirapan ka kung wala kang alam. And if there is problems that will arise from not understanding it. Okay, number 2, to be more ethical in nature. Yun yung sinasabi ko kanina na you're just not gonna be careful because you don't want to be damaged. You have to be careful para hindi ma-damage yung side mo and yung side ng kung sino man yung tumutulong sa'yo and kung sino man ang magbibigay sa'yo ng income for that specific business. So, yan. For example, a business from a country such as, siguro, Japan or US, pwede sila mag-set up yun, yung sinabi ko. And to an extent na pwede naman siyang maging okay, like same lang yung wages, yung salary. Pero, masasabi mo na siya na exploitation kapag hindi mo inisip na okay, sige, hindi naman siguro normal sa kanila na magkaroon ng ganitong amount of sweldo. So, ang sasabihin ko na lang, ganito na lang. No, hindi dapat ganon. Kumbaga, mas bababaan mo pa yung expected salary nila kasi wala silang alam doon. So, dapat maging ethical ka talaga in general. To continue, we have understanding the political and legal environment. So, we have here 4 political and legal issues of international business. So first, we have the government stability. No, this is the ability given by a government to stay in power. No, to stay in power against opposing factors. Bakit importante yun? Okay, let's talk about that a bit more thoroughly later. Or as ito daw yung to stay in power against opposing factors as the permanence of a government policies toward businesses. So, companies prefer to do business in countries that are stable in both. May mga instances kasi na because there is a lack of government stability, for example, yung mga local government officials, ginagamitan nila na parang, okay, sige, I found a specific international business people here. Nag-reside, mga Chinese, ganito, ganyan. For example lang to Tapos yung mga local government officials, because of what was trending nung time ni Alice Guo, pwede nilang gamitan ng advantage yung mga tao na yun doon na nagbebenta lang naman ng business. Sasabihin nila na, okay, may nag-report sa amin na you guys are spy, you guys are this and this and that. So, you are practically trying to shoo away the people that are just trying to do business. Because, why? There is no government stability. The people there, hindi sila controlled by the government. There is no government in power. Kaya yun. So, yun yung isang aspect doon. So, pag ganun yung nangyayari, syempre, mahihirapan na magstay yung mga business owners doon sa place na yun. And it is not, obviously, liked. Number 2. So, we have trade controls. Ayan. Dito sa trade controls, very controls that some countries place in international trade. We have two actually. We have here the tariff. Ayan. Ito ay tax collected on goods shipped across national boundaries. Okay. Pag-usapan natin. May be imposed by the exporting country through which the good passed or the importing country. So, yan, yung ini-import yung mga bananas ng Pilipinas papunta sa Japan, tapos yung mga mangoes natin sa mga countries. Tapos, before siya ma-pass doon, kaya, in general, mahal yung mga imported goods. Kasi nga, meron kasing tax din na nako-collect dyan. Number 2, sa trade controls, under the trade controls. Sorry. We have quota. Yan. Ano ang quota? A limit on the number or value of goods that can be traded. Typically designed to ensure that domestic competitors will be able to maintain a predetermined market share. Okay, before we continue, bakit ito importante? Kasi, if sabihin natin ang example dito is, si car company, gusto niya na magbigay ng at least 425,000 cars dito sa bansa na to. Pero, si bansa na gusto niyang bigyan ng cars for business, I mean, not bigyan ha, like gusto niyang i-import or export doon yung kanyang products, hindi pumayag si country. Sasabihin ni country na, okay, hindi, meron kaming trade controls. This is a type of trade controls. So, ang quota lang namin, every year, dapat nasa 200,000 cars lang ang magpasok dito. Siyempre, importante yun doon para sa bansa na yun. Kasi kapag walang limit, mahihirapan siya na i-maintain yung predetermined market share. And then, here, number 3, tapos na natin na-expose ang tariff and quota under number 2, which is the trade controls. We have the economic communities. Actually, number 4 pa yan. So, let's start muna sa trade incentives para mas maintindihan natin. Ano naman yung incentives? Diba narinig na natin yung term na incentives when we are trying to look for a job or nakikita natin sa TV series na, okay, like, may incentives kapag papasok ka sa job na to. If you want to be an employee of our company, these will be the incentives. Yan, may loan ka na, may ito ka na, may ganyan, etc. Bakit there is a trade incentives? Okay, yung na-discuss natin kanina doon sa government stability, medyo may connection sila dalawa. Because, yung municipal government nag-offer sila sa foreign countries, sa foreign companies, para masabi na, okay, sige, you know what? Ang gawin na lang namin is, ang incentives, kapag magpatayo ka dito ng business sa country namin, bibigyan ka namin ng initial labor contract. Ganon. Sabihin natin, sige, ito, bigyan ka namin ito. Or, meron yun sila tinatawag na contract which hindi ka masabi na, okay, you are a spy. Like a notion. So, parang ginagawa nilang incentives, yun yung most, hindi ko sinasabi na lahat ng bansa ginagawa ito ha. Pero, most countries, this is what they do. No? They do trade incentives. Para mas mapataas pa. Na political and legal sense lang naman. And, it is also designed to reduce the uncertainties from entering foreign business facing yung mga negotiation nila doon sa kanilang mga contracts na parang kailangan pa nilang i-process when in fact, kapag nagpatayo ka sa country nito, process na siya agad. And then lastly, we have the economic communities. Ayan. This is the final aspect of political and legal environment. Economic communities consist of a set of countries that agree to reduce or eliminate trade barriers. Doon sa 3 na napag-usapan natin, ang main focus doon is different countries. May iba't iba silang types of political and legal controls, no? Pero dito, ang economic communities, parang nagsama-sama sila na mga bansa para ipa minus or bawasan nila yung barrier between those controls. So, for example, one of the most commonly cited economic communities is the European Union. The original EU members were Belgium, France, ito yung mga bansa. Germany, Italy yan. Sila. Madami sila, okay? Ngayon, ang ginawa daw nila is nagpalaki pa sila lalo. Bakit? Bakit marami nagjo-join dito sa mga economic communities? Excuse me. These countries have been relatively, working toward a unified market with no barriers. Ito yung sinasabi ko. Kasi pag walang barriers, wala silang binabayaran, wala silang sinasabi na, okay, sige, eto, meron akong dito, trade control, or meron akong control regarding dito, or sabihin natin, yung government stability nila, okay naman. Gawa natin yan ng paraan. Kung mga nagtutulong-tulong sila para hindi na mahirapan yung barriers between countries na bakit ang laki-laki ng tax dito, ng tariff dito, bakit ang laki-laki ganun. So, mas napapaayos pa yung market. Kumbaga parang na-unified siya. So, ayun. Sinabi din nila na in general, na magiging threat din siya at the same time. Kasi, syempre, iba-ibang countries yun. Iba-iba din yung kanilang financial currency. So, that is it for my part. Thank you so much for listening. And on to the next reporter. Thank you.
Now, let's discuss the human resource management function in international business. So, same with national business, all basic international functions such as marketing, operations, finance, and HR provides a vital role in international business. Now, let's tackle the fundamental management challenges in international business. So, these are avoiding discrimination in employment, choosing an appropriate source of employees, training and development of employees, working conditions, compensation, and the cost of living. So, as we all know, every country has different cultures and laws. Ang mga tao is very diverse. They are very different and how they perceive employees and employers. So, paano nagiging challenges itong apat na nabanggit ko? First is avoiding discrimination in employment. Na-mention ko kanina, different countries have varying laws and norms about discrimination, making it hard to balance fairness with local practices. Yung laws and regulations na meron yung isang company from its original country or kung saan man nanggaling yung business, pwede silang mahirapan when it comes to HR kapag plinano nilang iset yung enterprise nila or yung business nila sa another country since na-state sa number 1 is iba-iba talaga ang laws and norms. Baka sa isang country, let's say Mexico, very prominent ang discrimination and mahihirapan silang i-manage kung paano sila makaka-avoid ng discrimination. Number 2 is choosing an appropriate source of employees, deciding whether to hire locals, relocate staff from the home country, or hire from another country. So, what are the challenges or the challenge? Each option affects cost, cultural fit, and how well employees adapt to the job and the location. So, number 2, choosing an appropriate source of employees. Deciding whether to hire locals, relocate staff from the home country, or hire from another country. So, what is the challenge? So, each option affects cost, culture fit, and how well employees adapt to the job and the location. So, example is kapag ang decision ng isang company is to relocate their staff to another country kung saan tatayo yung business ng panibagong, let's say, franchise or another part of the company, yung mga staff na lilipat doon is makaka-experience ng culture shock. And since na-mention ko rin kanina is iba-iba talaga tayo ng laws and mga norms and how we interact with people, how we treat people. So, if ever man na example is ganun yung mangyari and mahihirapan talaga yung HR o yung mga staff na nilipat sa country na yon, since yung physical, mental, emotional well-being nila and other stuff na pwedeng maapektuhan is magkukos ng trouble sa kanilang productivity, sa kanilang company. So, number 3 is training and development of employees, providing training that works for employees from different cultures and education levels. So, what is the challenge? Language barriers and cultural differences can make it hard to ensure all employees receive by the same level of training. Like sa same example ko sa number 2, let's say sa Japan yung company and nilipat siya sa US. Since bago yung environment ng Japanese employee kapag nilipat siya sa US, what if yung employee na yun is hindi siya marunong magsalita ng English. So, yun yung sinasabing language barriers. Mahihirapan siyang makipag-communicate sa mga coworker niya sa bagong environment niya. And it will be hard for employees to receive the same level of training. So, number 4 is working conditions, compensation, and the cost of living. Setting fair wages and work conditions based on local standards and cost of living. Difference in living costs and labor laws across countries make it hard to standardize policies while remaining fair to all employees. Isang company is magkakaroon siya ng challenges when it comes to changing and pagsusunod ng mga batas ng isang country na tatayuan nila ng business. So, syempre, kapag ganun, it will take a lot of time and magkakaroon ng extra cost kung ano man yung mga kailangan nilang bayaran sa government and other stuffs na kailangan nilang i-consider. General human resource issues in international business. Our set of challenges relate to differences that may exist to culture, levels of economic development, and legal systems that typify the countries wherein the firm operations. 4 issues related to international business. Discrimination. It is illegal in the United States to discriminate in an employment relationship on the basis of gender. Determination of the most appropriate source of employees, the host country, the home country, or a third country. Dealing with complex training and development challenges. Working conditions, compensation, and cost of living. It costs more people to live and to work in some countries than in others. So, these 4 issues, same lang ito siya sa na-explain ko previously. Specific human resource issues in international business. Number 1 is exporting. Exporting is making a product in your home country and selling it abroad. What are the HR issue? Managing employees who handle international shipments and dealing with legal differences in labor standards and practices in the countries where the products are sold. Also, employees may need specific training in international regulations. Number 2, licensing. Licensing is when a company lets a foreign firm manufacture or sell its products. HR issue. Ensuring considered quality control and managing the relationship with the foreign company. There may be difficulties in monitoring by performance of employees abroad since they are not directly managed by the original country. Number 3, direct foreign investment. Direct foreign investment is when a company builds or buys facilities in another country. Hiring and managing employees in the foreign country, often with different labor laws, work cultures, and expectations. Training staff to integrate with the company's existing culture can also be a challenge. Joint venture strategic alliance. A joint venture is when two or more companies share ownership and management of an operation. So in this case, managing employees across two companies with different culture, policies, and leadership styles, aligning goals and creating a unified workplace culture in such partnership can be difficult, especially in an international context. We cannot deny that combining or compromising with policies is very, very difficult. So, I can understand that yung goals ng dalawang company is minsan hindi sila align. So, kapag nagkaroon ng venture, ang isang or ang dalawang company, magkakaroon talaga ng long process of compromising of policies and leadership styles. So, that's all.
Cost of employment. Host nationals, these are locals from the country where the business is operating. They are usually cheaper to hire compared to employees from the company's home country or a third country. This is a significant reason why companies prefer to hire home country for non-managerial roles like production workers or clerical staff. Legal requirements. Many countries have laws that require the hiring of locals. For example, immigration laws might restrict certain jobs to citizens or legal residents. This means that companies must be aware of and comply with locals when recruiting and selecting employees in the host country. Recruitment planning. Companies need to develop a plan that considers the availability of local labor, the skills and talents of the workforce, and any training that may be required. This plan also takes into account the specific condition of the local labor market, such as economic conditions or cultural norms. Regulatory compliance. If a company hires PCN or parent country nationals for a position in the host country, they must follow the employment regulation of their home country. However, when hiring home country nationals, they must also comply with the host country employment laws and cultural norms, which can add complexity to the recruitment process.
So here are the local trading issues that companies will face when operating in a foreign business. First is the productivity. In countries with lower labor costs, such as Malaysia and Mexico, the local workforce may initially have lower productivity levels. Companies often need to invest in additional training to meet their performance standards and improve productivity. So, sa lugar na Malaysia and Mexico, meron silang lower labor cost, mababa yung pasahod nila. So, initially, kapag mga ganitong problema, kapag sa bansang Malaysia and Mexico ka mag-operate ng company, kailangan mo talagang mag-invest sa isang training para ma-meet yung productivity level na gusto mo. Next is the cultural and economic differences. Workers in planned economies in Eastern Europe may lack in customer service skills because they are not accustomed to make market-driven performance standards. This necessitates significant investment in training to shift their focus to customers' satisfaction. So, in places in Eastern Europe, is they lack of customer service skills kasi nga hindi nakatuon yung skills nila sa customer service. Now, this indicates that we also need to invest into another training program to shift their focus sa pagkakaroon ng customer service skills. Next is talent lacks. In highly industrialized economies, employees typically require little training beyond company-specific abilities. However, in developing countries, training requirements are greater due to lower baseline skill levels. So, industrialized economies is yun na yung mga Amerika, mga nakakaangat na bansa. Yung mga bansang yan is hindi na nila kailangan ng extensive training para ma-meet yung gusto mong standard ng pagtatrabaho. Pero in developing countries like Philippines, India, Malaysia, Indonesia, mga developing countries, yan yung mga bansa na kailangan talaga ng extensive training since yun yung mga developing countries na may lower baseline skill level. Next is the local compensation issues. Dito, nakapaloob yung you must be careful to comply with local labor laws, including wages and benefits, to avoid legal issues. So, here in the Philippines, kapag nag-hire tayo ng katulong as an employer, kailangan nating sundin yung minimum wage kung saan tayo nakatira. Kasi in the Philippines, we have different minimum wage based on where you live. It's either in Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. May iba-ibang minimum wage. So, kailangan natin yung sundin. And then, the benefits like mga SSS, pag-ibig, mga benefits gaya ng 13th month pay, mga bonuses, para maiwasan natin yung legal issues, kasuhan tayo ng korte, para maiwasan natin yun. And we should offer competitive compensation because this is very important to attract and retain talent and companies, and they can to companies para ma-attract natin ang mga bagong employees na papasok. And in this, what we say compensation, yun na yung like maternity leave, paternity leave, sick leave, and then kahit na mag-leave sila, which is valid na leave, is paid pa rin yun. So, yun yung mga compensation na makukuha nila. So, in this, ma-attract natin sila and mapapanatili natin sila sa company na meron tayo. And then, we should also consider the local cost of living. Syempre, kapag gaya dito sa Mindanao, na medyo mahal ang cost of living, kailangan nating i-align yung pasahod natin sa mga tao sa cost of living kung saan tayo nakatira, para masustentuhan yung needs nila at hindi na nila kailangan umalis sa company natin para lang makahanap ng much more higher pay salaries sa other companies. And we should also consider the cultural expectation. Dito na nakapaloob on how they act, dress, communicate, and interact with others. So, example here is sa UAE, which is Muslim countries. Dito is kapag you're working abroad or kahit you're operating a company there, kailangan appropriate tayo manamit on how we communicate, lalo na sa lalaki, especially sa mga amo natin, and the way we act. Kasi kapag once na may nalabag ka doon, diretso, sobrang stricto, makakasuhan ka kaagad. So, that would be all yung mga local trading issues kapag sa ibang bansa ka nag-operate ng iyong company.
Hello everyone, my name is Sunny JC Argo, and now I will discuss the effective management of export rates. So, describe the issues involved in managing international transfer and assignments. So, Effective management of expatriate employees is a crucial aspect of international human resources management, or let's say HRM. So dito is nakapaloob dito is all about effective management of expatriates, critical aspect of internal human resources management, so HRM. So expatriates are employees who are sent by the firms to work in another country. They can be classified as parent country national, or PCNs, who are citizens of the country where the multinational company is headquartered, or TCNs, who are citizens of a different country. So, key areas of focus in managing expatriates include selecting individuals with the right skills and cultural adaptability for international assignments, providing comprehensive training to help them adapt to the new environment, and offering competitive compensations package that reflect the cost of living and other relevant factors in the host country. So now we have three several key areas must be addressed. So first, we have selections, training, and compensations. So these three aspects or areas it will discuss by the next reporter. Additional, proper management of expatriates is essential as it aligns with and supports the company international strategy, influencing the effectiveness of global business operations and the successful integrations into new market. In the next slide, what is the purpose of expatriates in employees? So, in managing expatriates employees, kumbaga itong statement or summary na to is nakabuod siya is on the purpose of expatriates is to transfer knowledge, manage international operations, and ini-ensure niya that a company global standard and strategies are implemented effectively in a foreign market. So, like for example, sabihin na natin yung isang company, let's say fast food siya. So, mula sa US ay nagbubukas sila ng bagong branch sa Thailand. So, pinili nila si Miss Anas as Miss Anas mula sa US bilang PCNs or parent country nationals. So, para pamunuan nila ang branch ng Bangkok. So, pareho, kasama niya si Mr. Solido as isang IT expert mula sa Manila. So, bilang third country national or TCNs. So, pareho silang binibigyan ng pagsasanay sa Thai culture at mga benefit and expenses para sa kanila para mas mapadali yung pag-a-adjust nila sa bansa. So, dito naman sa expatriates and corporate international strategy, a firm approach to managing expatriates should align with its international strategy because expatriates play crucial role in transferring and sharing knowledge across the organizations depending on the strategy, global, international, transitional, or domestic, or multi-domestic rather. The question is, what is the purpose of global and multi-domestic strategy? So, sa ganitong strategy, global strategy, mababa yung isang risk dahil ang mga expatriates ay sumusunod sa mga rules sa central ng company. Like for example, kung ang company ay gumagamit ng global strategy, ang expatriates na nasa ibang bansa ay may higit na sumusunod sa mga rules mula sa head office. So, dahil dito maayos silang matatransfer ang mga kaalaman at pamamaraan sa central ng office papunta sa iba't ibang bahagi ng lugar. So, while the multi-domestic strategy is mas mataas yung risk ng strategy na ito dahil ang mga decision na ito is naka-decentralized o hindi makakontrol mula sa central na lugar. So, kung ang company ay gumagamit ng multi-domestic strategy, ang mga expatriates naman, sa iba't ibang bansa ay may kalayaang gumawa ng sariling desisyon na halimbawa, maaaring hindi bahagi yung extra praise ang mahalagang informations sa head office. So dahil sa kanyang kalayaan na magdesisyon, may tendency na magkaroon ng problema sa pag-share ng information sa pagitan ng head office at ng mga expatriates sa iba't ibang bansa.
Training expatriates. Kapag ang isang company ay nag-send ng managers sa ibang bansa, tinatawag silang expatriates. Kailangan nila ng maraming training para maging successful sila sa bagong environment na pupuntahan nila. Hindi biro ang mag-fail sa ganitong assignment kasi sobrang laki ng gastos. Halimbawa, ang General Motors. Gumastos sila ng halos $500,000 kada taon para i-train ang mga US managers at pamilya nila bago sila pumunta sa ibang bansa. Training. Ito yung mga classes or sessions na ginagawa para turuan ka ng specific skills na kailangan mo sa trabaho. Example, kung may bagong software na kailangan gamitin sa trabaho, tuturuan ka kung paano ito gamitin. So, simple lang ang training. Parang learning lang ito ng new tools or techniques na kailangan sa trabaho mo. Development. Sa development naman, mas focus ito sa long-term growth mo bilang isang manager. Usually, it takes months or even years. Dito ka tinutulungan para maging better leader, like paano mag-motivate ng team, mag-decide sa mga critical na bagay, or gumawa ng strategies na effective para sa company. So, pinaprepare ka na for higher position in the future. Cultural assimilator. Medyo complex ito. Dito ka bibigyan ng mga scenarios or situations na posible mong ma-encounter sa foreign country. Tapos, itatanong kung paano ka magre-react. After mo mag-answer, bibigyan ka ng feedback kung tama ba yung magiging response mo. Parang practice siya para pagdating mo sa actual situation. Alam mo na kung ano ang gagawin. Minsan, may short trips para bago ka totally lumipat, para ma-experience mo firsthand yung life doon. In short, training is for specific skills, development is for long-term growth, at cultural assimilator ay para maging ready ka sa cultural differences sa ibang bansa. Repatriation. Ang repatriation ay ang proseso ng pag-uwi ng isang expatriate manager sa kanilang home country matapos ang kanilang work assignment abroad. Hindi lang ito simpleng pag-pack ng gamit at pag-uwi. Maraming adjustments ang kailangan sa personal at professional level ng isang manager para maging smooth ang transition. Sa personal level, imagine nasanay ka sa magandang benefits abroad tulad ng mataas na sahod, company car, at membership sa mga exclusive clubs. Pag-uwi mo, biglang iba na ang lifestyle mo. Baka mas maliit ng sweldo, wala na yung mga perks, at kailangan mong masanay ulit sa kultura ng Pilipinas. Halimbawa, sanay ka na sa right-hand driving abroad. Tapos pag-uwi mo, kailangan mong mag-adjust sa kaliwang pagmamaneho sa Pilipinas. Sa professional level naman, habang nasa abroad ka, pwedeng nagbago na ang status mo sa company. Baka nawala na yung dating trabaho mo, or baka may iba nang nakakuha ng posisyon mo. Mag-aalala ka tuloy kung paano mo may explain yung experience mo abroad at kung paano ka ibabalik ng company sa dating position mo. Kaya nga, maraming expatriate managers ang nagre-resign within 2 years after nilang bumalik dahil sa mga ganitong concerns.
The issue in international labor relations. Labor relations are about how employers and employees in the unions working together. Meron itong mga rules at laws na nagkokontrol kung paano mag-act ang both sides to make sure na lahat ay fair and orderly. In many countries, Labor parties work closely with unions to achieve political goals, and these parties are often very influential. Unlike in the US, labor unions in these countries focus on a broader range of social issues, not just wages, working conditions, making their political activism more extensive.
Different countries have different norms regarding labor and unions. In England, labor contracts are contracts that can be broken at any time and is just a formality and has no legality. In Europe, they have work stoppages as a way to get public support like labor strikes. In Japan, union and management are cooperative since the Japanese are a collectivist society.
So that is for the whole chronicle of this chapter, the global environment. We hope that the findings presented today shed light on the importance of the international business. The success hinged on embracing diversity and cultural nuances and HRM practices. Let's strive to foster an inclusive workplace where every individual's unique talents and backgrounds are valued and celebrated on behalf of Group 2. Thank you so much. Good day, everyone.